Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today, inshallah, I'm gonna share with you my story of becoming a Muslim. And when I got this idea and I was thinking about doing it, I actually realized that around this time, 13 years ago, is when so I'm gonna start from the very beginning. I come from a really small place in Estonia called Vastseliina, and at the time it had around maybe 1,000 residents. The population has even decreased by now. So really small place where pretty much everyone knows everyone almost. And as a child, I don't remember how old I was exactly, maybe 10, 12, I really don't remember. But what I do remember is that I started to feel or believe or think that there is some higher power, something greater than us human beings, something or someone that controls this universe. So I started to develop my belief in God somehow. And probably because there's mostly, or there was, even today, there is mostly, like, if you want to look into any religion in Estonia, mostly find information about Christianity. And partly because of that, I first started learning more about Christianity. I remember also getting a small prophet stories book from my grandfather, who was actually the only religious person in my family. My parents, until this day, they are not religious, and there was nobody really practicing any religion in my family except for my grandfather. After reading that book and reading maybe from some other sources also about Christianity, I started following Christianity. I was never christened, but is that the word, christened or baptized? I'm not even sure exactly. But I never ritually became a Christian. That's what I want to say. I did consider myself a Christian, especially throughout my teenage years. I would go to church whenever I could. Not every weekend, not every Sunday, and I didn't normally go to the church in the place where I lived in, because at that time, just being religious, being a believer in Estonia was kind of like, you didn't want to like really talk about it because of people's reaction. And it just shows also how non-religious country Estonia is. And even as a Christian, I was practicing, I was reading the prayers, I was reading the Bible regularly, I would go to the church, but I would never talk about it, maybe even with my parents, not so much, and not at all, for example, with my friends or my classmates at school. And yeah, so I was kind of even practicing Christianity kind of in a secret, didn't really talk about it too much. So my teenage years, I would say like 3, 4, maybe even a little bit more years, I was a practicing Christian. And at some point, I started moving away from Christianity because it was mostly the concept of Jesus being the direct Son of God and the whole concept of Trinity, which kind of stopped making sense to me slowly. I would still go to church, but I would not consider myself a Christian anymore. It was a slow process, but at some point, I just felt that okay, I'm just believing in God. I don't have any religion. I don't need any religion. I can just go on with my life like this, just believing in one God, and that's enough. But at that time, I was also open to more open to like other religions, other ideas, and I started reading also about Islam. And another important thing is that when I was a Christian, at some point, I wouldn't even talk to Muslims because of my religion, because I thought they were like so way off the truth or something. I didn't even remember, but I remember that I completely avoided talking to Muslims, like online, I mean, because there weren't like any Muslims around me anyways, where I lived. But I had like a lot of online friends, and I was avoiding Muslims at some point. But then later, I started becoming friends again online with some Muslims, and it's not so much that they really called me to Islam, but they kind of just showed me, just by being normal, that they're also normal human beings, that I don't need to like avoid them. And I also started to kind of see the true image of Islam, sometimes by what they told me, sometimes by their behavior, which was not the image that we in the West sometimes get from the media, from the TV, the news, etc., where you only mostly hear about, or at least at that time you heard about, like, some terrorist attacks that were associated with Muslims, etc. So you don't really get a good image just by watching those images and reading those stories. So thanks to those friends, partly, I became more open about Islam. I got more curious about it. I wanted to know more, so I decided to get the copy of the translation of the meaning of the Quran in Estonian. It had just been published. It's not like the best translation. It was done by a non-Muslim, but it was a great thing for me to read as a non-Muslim, just to get a better idea of what Islam is, what the Quran is all about. And the funny thing is actually that when it was published, like, it was sold like so fast. And my mom my mom happened to be in the capital at the time, and I asked her if she could buy one for me. And it was like, I remember when she came back home with with the copy of the Quran translation, and just by handing it over to me, like, she was like, kind of showed like, it showed like she was kind of worried, what was going to happen to my son now, like, is he going to become a Muslim? So what happened, I started to read it. I started to read it every day. And as I started going through that translation, I slowly but firmly started to like believe more and more that this is for me. I started to feel that this whole religion, Islam, is actually for me. This is what I want to follow, and also this is what I have to and need to follow if I want to achieve a good life in the afterlife. And the really nice thing for me when reading this was that there were like so many things in it that I already believed in. So when some people think that becoming a Muslim, like converting from Christianity to Islam, for example, is such a huge like change of direction in your life, but the truth is, like, for me it actually wasn't so big of a change of direction, at least with my beliefs and my understanding of the world, because the whole concept of the hellfire and the paradise, the prophets, and even, like, especially for me, the concept of Jesus in Islam was so much more acceptable for me, so much easier to understand, that he is just a really important prophet, and not a son of God. So it was really reading the translation of the Quran that gave me that push to accept Islam. As I was reading through the book, I started to kind of feel that I'm feel myself as a Muslim. I wasn't praying at the time. I hadn't said my Shahada, but I was feeling that, I was identifying myself as a Muslim already. So at that time, like parallel to my religious change, something else was going on that kind of slowed down my, me becoming a Muslim. If I'm not mistaken, then I believe it was actually the very same day that I got the Quran that I started to talking to one girl online from India, and we talked more, and I fell in love. And when I was 17 at the time, so of course I couldn't travel legally. Like, it would have been like a bit more difficult at the time. But as soon as I turned 18, I went to meet her in India against the advice of all of my family, which of course I regret not, listening to. It was a stupid decision, obviously Islamically incorrect, but it's just what happened. I was crazy in love, and I did that. And of course, as unlawful as it was Islamically, just traveling to another country to meet a girl, the funny thing is that I became more religious there. And the reason is that while I was staying in the hotel, I discovered this Islamic TV channel called Peace TV, mostly famous for Zakir Naik. And I learned so much about Islam, and my faith grew a lot. And I was even trying to pray a little bit in some certain incorrect way while I was there. And of course, this thing with that girl didn't work out. I came back. That relationship ended, I believe, 2009 March, and it was 2009 April, so 13 years ago again, when I properly said my Shahada. I had been basically saying my Shahada already before, because I was already praying more properly now. So I don't really know exactly what would be the exact moment or the exact day when I became Muslim. Was it April 2009 when I actually said the Shahada with the intention of accepting Islam? Or did the Shahada that we say in the prayer already, did that count as well? I don't know. But so anyways, that's how I became a Muslim. So I was still in high school at the time, and I had one full year of high school left, and that was quite interesting and not the easiest thing as a practicing Muslim. One thing, because of the food, I used to normally eat in the school canteen, but then I stopped that because there was mostly everything was haram to eat. There weren't any vegetarian choices really, at the time at least. And the prayers, of course, that was quite hard, but somehow I managed. I would sneak out. I mean, not sneak out, I would ask out, raise my hand, and the way it was can I go out? And normal people would just go to the bathroom, but I would go and do my prayers somewhere in the school building. I would sometimes go to the backup stairs, the fire stairs, around that area. There wasn't too many people moving around there, or some other quiet place. It was pretty hard, but I always kept in mind that, okay, inshallah, one day these things will become easier, and I will just keep doing it patiently. Because if you really want to follow Islam, and you want to please Allah, surely Allah will help you in that, and He will make a way for you for that. And at that time, I was also more religious, probably, like, or more, yeah, with a bigger iman, bigger faith than like ever. Afterwards, like, it wasn't the same feeling anymore, maybe. So I was like more eager to practice every little thing that I learned, and especially like do the prayers despite the difficulties that I faced doing that. And also, alhamdulillah, what made it easier for me was that my parents kind of took it pretty well. Me becoming a Muslim, there weren't really that big problems with that. They weren't happy about it for sure, but they slowly started accepting that, and also they didn't like really give me any big problems for my Islam, which was great. Because some brothers and sisters, unfortunately, when they convert to Islam, the parents really can be extreme with them, and even like give them the choice of like whether you become like stay as a Muslim and you move out of the house, or you reject your Islam and you can live with us. Alhamdulillah, thankfully I didn't deal with anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty much my story of becoming a Muslim. And right after high school, 2010, in the autumn, I moved to Saudi Arabia to study in the Islamic University of Medina, and this is where I really felt like all that patience paid off, like all that patience of of those countless like prayers, like trying to find a quiet place without anyone seeing me in the high school, and dealing with other things that were like not so easy maybe sometimes. It really paid off there, because practicing Islam suddenly became so much easier to find halal food. You had like mosques everywhere, masajid to pray in, surrounded by practicing brothers. Because at that time, like in that small place where I lived in Estonia, like I was the only Muslim also, and it was a while like until I actually met another Muslim when I visited the Islamic Center in Tallinn, which had just opened. But yeah, like there wasn't really much contact with, like, at least like in person. I did have some Muslim friends online, but that was it. So yeah, that's my story of becoming a Muslim. When I think about it, I realize like how huge of a blessing it is. Sometimes with my daily life I forget about it, but when I think back and look back at the fact that like Allah chose me out of this like this small place like in the corner of Estonia, and in general, like in Estonia there aren't many like convert Muslims, especially men are like there's maybe just like a few dozens of men that have converted to Islam, that have been blessed with Islam. So when I think about it, like it's such a huge blessing, and something like to be really, really grateful for. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So that's it. I hope you like my story. Maybe there was something learned from it. If not anything else, then at least something for like new Muslims, that when you are going through some hard times in the beginning of your Islam, don't think that it has to be always like that. Things can get much easier, and always try to do that which is pleasing to Allah. If you have something to choose from, like choose that which is more pleasing to Allah, which is more correct Islamically, and inshallah Allah will help you in whatever you choose. That's it. May Allah bless you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.